While working on this book, did you speculate that it'll bring a lot of accolades of highest orders from around the world?
I knew that Oppenheimer was a very controversial figure, and I knew that this was going to be an important book, largely because my co-author, Marty Sherwin, had amassed just an incredible gathering of research material and interviews and 8,000 pages of FBI documents and 50,000 pages altogether of archival documents from around the world, and it was just a fantastic story. So I knew by the time we'd finished writing it that this was a good book. We were very lucky to win the Pulitzer Prize. It's very difficult to do that. There are many good books written every year.
How did it feel when both of you won the award, Pulitzer Award?
It was terrific. I called my wife immediately, and she didn't believe me. But it's an important award, and it helps to persuade people to read a particular book. And that's always difficult to find readers in this age of television and radio. People don't have time to sit down and pay attention to reading a serious book. And the Pulitzer Prize is a prize that helps to persuade people to spend the time to read.
To sum it up, how optimistic do you feel that someday we'll have a world free of nuclear weapons?
In the short term, very pessimistic, but in the long term, I think it's inevitable. These weapons are really not military weapons. They can't be used except in apocalyptic circumstances. And Oppenheimer himself had a simple and easy plan for eliminating them and controlling the technology. In 1947, he proposed that you create an international atomic authority that would have the right to own all aspects of the atomic technology. From the uranium mines, they would own the mines. They would have sovereign control over the uranium mines. They would have control over any energy plants, atomic energy plants that generated electricity. And inspectors would be allowed to go and inspect any laboratory or factory or facility anywhere in the world to determine if someone was trying to make enriched uranium. And then you'd simply say that these elements are banned, they're illegal, you can't have weapons, and you have scientists and authorities from around the world monitor these activities.
We'll talk about your new book after a short break. Do stay with us.
The engine of any economy is not aid.
21st century will be the century of women.
The open border, which is actually something which helps the people of both countries, is not misused by terrorists.
I don't think we have anything in Denmark that you don't have in Nepal. It's all in the mind and in the mindset.
There was a deliberate attempt by the Hamas to target civilians. And I think anywhere in the world you will not find a government that will tolerate it.
Welcome back. You're watching Power Talks. We are in conversation with Mr. Kai Bird, a celebrated author and winner of Pulitzer Prize. Mr. Bird, you're currently working on your new book on the Middle East, Crossing Mandelbaum Gate. What has inspired the name?
The full title is Crossing Mandelbaum Gate, Coming of Age Between the Arabs and the Israelis. And I chose Mandelbaum Gate to be in the title because Mandelbaum Gate in 1956, when I was living in Jerusalem, was the one gate between East and West Jerusalem. The city was then divided, with the Israelis occupying the west portion of the city, and Jordan was controlling the eastern portions of Jerusalem. And the city was, divided by this crude barbed wire, and there was this one gateway, checkpoint, where diplomats only could go back and forth. And as a little boy, I lived in East Jerusalem, but I went to school in West Jerusalem, so I went through the gate every day. And this was sort of a metaphor for my childhood in the Middle East. I grew up sort of in the Arab world and going back and forth all the time. And it gave me, I hope, a special insight into the Middle East conflict.
A lot has been written about the Middle East. And how is your book going to be a different one?
Well, I have a peculiar perspective. I'm an American who spent my childhood there. I grew up rather sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. I could see them all around me. I visited the refugee camps as a young man in university. And yet, as it happens, I ended up marrying a woman who's not only Jewish, but is the only daughter of two Holocaust survivors. So I learned from her family history, a perspective about the Jewish sensibility and the special ties that they feel towards Israel. So it gives me, I hope, a balanced view of the conflict.
When is the book coming out, and what are your expectations from the readers? Or what can readers expect from the book?
Well, the book's coming out in April 2010. And it's being published by Scribner's in New York. And I think it's going to be controversial. I try to, in this blend of memoir, childhood memoir, and history, I tell a lot of controversial history and forgotten history about why this conflict is still with us, 60 years after the birth of Israel. There still is no peace, and I think there are some historical reasons for this that people have forgotten, have either been ignorant of or have forgotten over the years. And so I tell these stories. But it's also a book about the American experience in the Middle East. I grew up not only in Jerusalem, but in Cairo, in Beirut, in Saudi Arabia. And so I have pieces of the book that address each of those countries. And, well, it's a book I had to write. I had to write it. I had to try to figure out what was going on around me when I was a child. And it's, one war after